Good evening. Welcome to the Ogden City Council special meeting for November 13th, 2012. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Councilmember Wicks, who is asked to be excused tonight. And now at this time, we will have Vice Chair Blair lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is a moment of silence, so please join with us in a moment of silence. Thank you. Next on the agenda are items of recognition, and the first item is Weber State University President, and we will turn the time over to Vice Chair Blair.
Thank you. This is a joint proclamation of the Ogden City Council and Mayor proclaiming November 13th, 2012 as Dr. F. Ann Milner Day in Ogden City. Whereas Dr. F. Ann Milner started her journey with Weber State University as a health professions program administrator in 1982 and became the 11th president of the university in 2002, Dr. Milner has made a lasting impact and established a course for the university to become an even greater asset to our community. And whereas Dr. Milner earned a Bachelor of Science degree in education from the University of Tennessee, a Master of Science degree in Allied Health Education and Management from Southwest Texas State University, and a Doctor of Education degree in Educational Administration from Brigham Young University. And whereas, prior to her work for Weber State, Dr. Milner gained extensive experience in higher education. She served as Associate Director of Continuing Education for the Edmonda campus of Gwynedd Mercy College and was a lecturer at the School of Health Professions at Southwest Texas State University. She also worked as the instructional developer in medical technology at Thomas Jefferson University and the education coordinator of the medical technology program at Vanderbilt University. And whereas, throughout Dr. Milner's tenure as university president, Weber State saw one of the largest enrollment increases in its history, growing from 18,000 students in 2002 to over 26,000 students in 2012. She has established a reputation of excellence for university programs and has also helped to facilitate economic development efforts here in our community. And whereas, under Dr. Milner's leadership, Weber State faculty and staff completed a successful 10-year reaccreditation effort, enhanced educational excellence by focusing on teaching and learning, student engagement, service learning, and undergraduate research, and completed a successful $90 million capital campaign. And whereas Dr. Milner has been involved in various community and academic organizations, she has served as chair of the Utah Campus Compact and as a board member for Intermountain Healthcare, the Ogden-Weber Chamber of Commerce, the Weber Economic Development Corporation, and the Coalition for Utah's Future. And whereas over the past 30 years, Dr. Milner has always displayed humility, integrity, valor, and dedication. Her remarkable leadership has allowed numerous students, faculty, and staff to experience quality educational opportunities right here within our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Michael P. Caldwell proudly proclaim November 13th, 2012 as Dr. F. Ann Milner Day in Ogden City. We proudly recognize Dr. F. Ann Milner for her countless contributions to our community and present her with the key to Ogden City. We wish her well in her future endeavors and are confident that she will continue to contribute significantly as she returns her focus to teaching. And with that, I would gladly make a motion to approve this joint resolution, this joint proclamation.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Blair and a second from Councilmember Heyer to adopt this joint proclamation, and this is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And Dr. Milner, if you'll come up at this time.
And Dr. Miller, we have a special present to give tonight as well. We really appreciate everything that you've done in this community. That's a key to the city that we wanted to give.
Guys, thank you.
You're a very important part of everything we do here, so thank you.
Everybody's
Are we
squeezing.
all in? What are we, how are we?
Thank you. And if you'd like some comments, Dr. Milner. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate this honor, and I appreciate the opportunity to work with all of you. It's been a pleasure to kind of forge new partnerships and look for opportunities to make this a better place for all of us to live, work, play, and learn. Right, Mayor? Do I have it right now? And, you know, I believe in Ogden City. I have lived here for 30 years. Weber State University, I think, is an incredible gem in this community, and that working together in partnership, I know we can accomplish great things that will make this just a wonderful place for all of us. So thank you for extending your hands of partnership and friendship to me, and I'm going to continue to stay in this community. I will still be at Weber State University. So anything I can do to help in the future, I'm more than glad to do that. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the honorary mayor of Christmas Village, and we will turn the time over to Mayor Caldwell for the reading of this proclamation.
Thank you, Chair Garner. This is a joint proclamation again honoring Matthew R. Godfrey Day in Ogden City. Whereas the Mayor and City Council of Ogden have declared Matthew R. Godfrey honorary mayor for the 2012 Ogden Christmas Village, and whereas born and raised in the Ogden area, Matthew attended Weber State University, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts Finance degree and a minor in Spanish and a Master's of Professional Accounting. He also earned the distinction of an NCAA All-American in track and field. And whereas Christmas Village can credit its revival of old dreams, its new vision, and its legacy to Ogden's 37th mayor. Being elected the youngest mayor in the history of Ogden, Matthew knew that Christmas Village was not only an essential part of Ogden's history and a family holiday tradition for its residents, but an invaluable asset to Ogden's historic 25th Street revitalization and to the downtown business community as a whole. He knew that it had the potential not only to enhance Ogden's reputation statewide, but to draw tens of thousands into downtown Ogden during the Christmas season. And whereas Matthew's vision, leadership, and support for Christmas Village allowed it to grow from 12 cottages lining the sidewalks of the municipal park in 2001 to 58 cottages by 2009, along with tens of thousands of holiday lights, over 36 lighted Christmas displays, a Christmas storytelling tent, nightly live entertainment in the amphitheater, a train-inspired shuttle dubbed the Christmas Express, and daily visits with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And whereas during the month of December 2011, over 10,000 children sat on Santa's knee asking for dreams of their own to come true, improving the quiet, hopeful voices of children that Matthew's vision of having thousands of people visiting downtown Ogden during the holiday season was possible. And whereas few people in the history of Christmas Village have given as much and worked as hard as Matthew for the Christmas Village dream. The lighting of Christmas Village is now an entire evening of festivities that begins with the Santa Run, continues with the Holiday Electric Light Parade, and culminates with a very special Make-A-Wish child helping Santa throw the switch to light the village and begin the fireworks. The evening is one of holiday magic with Santa, the music on the stage, the lights in the trees and on the cottages, and the smiles on the faces of both children and adults as they weave their way away from cottage to cottage. Whereas Matthew is married to Monica Allen Godfrey, and together they have 5 beautiful children, Natasha, Harrison, Daniel, Tyler, and Grant. This family, like so many others, visits the village multiple times during the Christmas season. Monica and these 5 children can take pride in knowing that for generations to come, visitors of all ages will enjoy Ogden's Christmas Village because it was their husband and father who envisioned what it could be, rebuilt the dream, and created all that it has become today. For that, we are forever grateful. Now, therefore, Mayor Michael P. Caldwell and the Ogden City Council do hereby join together in proclaiming November 24th, 2012 as Matthew R. Godfrey Day. In the city of Ogden, we declare him honorary mayor of Christmas Village for 2012. We hereby encourage everyone to join us by honoring Matthew Godfrey by visiting Ogden's Christmas Village and seeing the outstanding contributions he has made. We thank him for his love of Ogden and for making a difference in this community for children and families who will visit Ogden's Christmas Village for generations to come. Dated this 13th day of November, 2012. So congratulations.
Hang on. I'm going to make the motion that we adopt this joint proclamation.
I second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Heyer and a second from Councilmember Stevens to approve this joint proclamation. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. This passes.
Congratulations.
Want a picture?
We'll go on over. They'll make them do it.
You'll come up here, we'll take a picture. This for history.
One, two, three. Thank you.
Like to say anything?
Well, thank you. This is a great honor, and I feel very privileged, so I really appreciate it. This is certainly the easiest route to the title of mayor that I've experienced so far, so thank you. And if I have had any contribution to Christmas Village, it's just been in cajoling good people to serve on the committee, and those are the people that have made amazing things happen for many, many years. Most of these people, well, many of these people have served for a long, long time, I dare not even say. And it's their great efforts that have made such a great difference to the village. And so I'm very proud of them. And I'm if I'm standing up here for anybody, it's for their efforts. So I am very appreciative, and thank you for this honor.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, following with the Christmas Village, is a Christmas Village Committee appointment and advice and consideration for the appointment of Rachel Turner to the Ogden City Christmas Village Committee.
I'll make a motion to adopt that.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Stevens to adopt this appointment. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This passes. And is Rachel here tonight? Rachel, why don't you come up, and we have a letter for you. And Rachel's wearing the new sweatshirt for this year, so if you notice that. And Rachel, do you want to say anything real quick?
I'm just excited.
Okay, she's excited. And thank you, Rachel. Next on the agenda is a joint resolution to buy in Ogden. And this is to challenge citizens to join the Ogden City Council and Mayor Caldwell in doing their holiday shopping within Ogden city limits over this Christmas holiday.
Okay. As they're filing out, I'll go ahead and read that. This is a joint resolution challenging citizens to join the Ogden City Council and Mayor Caldwell in doing holiday shopping within Ogden city limits. Whereas this holiday season, we invite everyone to be aware of the benefits that come from buying locally and to focus this year's holiday shopping and dining in Ogden city limits. And whereas this is a great opportunity to contribute to our local economy and well-being. Many do not realize that making a conscious effort to purchase within the city can foster local economic growth, enhance product convenience, make shopping areas more vibrant, and lessen environmental impacts that come from traveling to shop. And whereas by shopping locally, sales tax dollars stay in Ogden and provide a direct benefit for Ogden City residents, these tax dollars afford Ogden City with the means to not only continue city services, but to improve the city in which we work, live, play, and learn. And whereas we proudly promote holiday shopping and dining at Ogden businesses, as this will help encourage our community to unite together as we invest in our great city. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ogden City Council and Mayor Caldwell are committed to focus our buying in Ogden during this holiday season and challenge all citizens to participate in this endeavor by shopping primarily in stores located throughout the city. We also acknowledge and are grateful for the efforts of Local First Ogden and other community groups who help promote shopping in Ogden. And with that, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt this joint resolution.
I'll second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Councilmember Stevens to adopt Joint Resolution 2012-10. Councilmember Gochner and Councilmember Heyer to adopt Joint Resolution 2012-10. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This passes, and thank you for your support. Next on the agenda is a public hearing, and this public hearing is to address the South Oakcrest Drive street name change.
Thanks, Chair. Russ Eldridge will give a overview. Been excited all day for this opportunity.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, Mayor, and Mr. Johnson, thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. This issue first came to light probably about 2 years ago or so in discussions with the Weber Morgan Emergency 911 Dispatch Center when they were having difficulties getting calls to the right places on South Oakcrest Drive. For probably the next year and a half, we tried to solve this problem just by record adjustments or data adjustments in our GIS database. And when that proved not to be effective, we started looking at the other alternative for solving this problem, which would be to just rename the street completely. It's not a move that we were really excited about because of the number of people this inconveniences, but it's one that's going to solve the problems and make sure that any fire, medical, or police can find the correct address and find it quickly. The active process of renaming this street began in probably the first week of July in a nice warm school building out just south of South Oakcrest Drive, and the temperatures were hot and the tempers were kind of warm as well. But we had representatives there from our fire department and from the emergency dispatch center to explain to the residents the difficulties that they were having in finding the correct addresses and finding them in a timely manner. Since then, we've had some correspondence through door hangers and through emails, and another subsequent meeting in the Planning Commission, and a few phone calls as well to discuss the fate of this street. And it boiled down to either having it renamed as a numbered street or as a named street with a name that would match in with the subdivision's forest type theme. We came down to two options, and that was Aspen Drive and 4550 South. In our initial Planning Commission meeting, we had more respondents for the numbered street. And so we had made the recommendation to rename the streets 4550 and 4560 South, with the cul-de-sac on the east end being named 1630 East. Right after the Planning Commission meeting, we had a resident put together a petition to actually get the street name changed to a named street. So I believe we have two different options available to us tonight in talking with Glenn Symes. And one is, and I'll put it up here. This is the first one. I'm not sure how you zoom or focus in on this.
Do you want to examine them as well?
No. Okay. As it comes into focus there, this is the proposal for just the South Oakcrest being renamed Aspen Drive and Aspen Circle. We have a second option tonight of renaming the East End Aspen Drive and Aspen Circle and the West End 4550 South, according to the respondents in that petition that was presented at the last city council meeting where this was brought up. So this is where we are tonight. Initially, at our very first meeting, there were questions raised about address changing, especially on identification documents. And for the sake of the residents, I did contact the Utah Department of Motor Vehicles and talk with them about driver's licenses and addresses. They did say that you're not required to have your current address on your license, but that you can apply for a replacement copy with that current address. And they did say you can put a sticker on the back of your license with the correct address. The second thing was a U.S. passport. And I talked with the passport agency in Washington, D.C. They assured me that addresses aren't even included on passports anymore. For this, the only other question that was presented to me about this was documentation for the residents to show insurance companies that their address has been legally changed, and we are going to provide that through not only a recorded copy of the ordinance to change the street name, but as an administrative ordinance as well that'll be recorded both here at the city and the county. With that, I'm open to any questions you might have for me.
I have about 16 questions.
Okay.
Let me start with the first one. Do you want to explain a little bit about why you chose to make the division where you did?
Yes. In fact, I remember this question coming up a little bit earlier. We have on this looped road here sequential addressing, and you have lower numbers on the west side culminating at a peak on the east end of the circle, and then going back to lower numbers on the east side. In fact, let me show this here. This was a graphic prepared for us by one of the address gurus over at the dispatch center. And as you can see, we've got addresses matching in range back and forth. This graphic here just displays some of the problems they were having. But you get the lower addresses starting out there and then culminating at a point on the eastern end of what's now Oakcrest, South Oakcrest. We broke it where the addresses start to go back down in sequence. And this is preferable for the post office to have a street where you have addresses go back up and then go back down a couple of numbers is not going to pass muster with them, and not with any good GIS address base either. And so that's why it's broken where it is. At the very beginning, if I can pull this off and put one of the others back on. These three houses here, right above the circle, had indicated that they would like to stay within Oakcrest address, which would have broken the street right at the circle where it came off. In doing that, we would have had to change their house address numbers to keep them sequential and going up to a peak before going back down. So their choice was either change their street name or change their house number. And I believe that their latest decision was to just change their street name and remain with the Aspen Drive group.
Oh, and I asked that because I think I saw some of you, I was driving around today. It's really hard to get my head around this break in the middle of a circle. And I mean, and I honestly, and I don't live there, and I know there are lots of people that have lived there for 40 years plus, but it seems intuitively like it would make more sense to break at that circle. I mean, these people, and maybe they're here, I don't know, but they have to change something no matter what they do. And then my second question is, if you left those 3 houses on Oakcrest, then it seems reasonable at that point that you wouldn't have to change the circle if the break came at the, that it could stay as Oakcrest Circle.
Okay.
For the 2 lots in the back, you mean,
Okay.
Pardon, say that?
For the
back would remain?
I'll show you what I mean.
Yeah.
So I'm saying if the break came right here, then these people have to change something no matter what, but you could at least not impact these 2.
Well, their numbers would have to change.
Okay. The ones in the cul-de-sac there, whether it be called Aspen Circle or Oakcrest Circle, depending on where we make that split, their house numbers will need to change because they're coming off of Oakcrest Aspen Drive at a 90-degree angle, meaning that they are a north-south street now instead of an east-west like Oakcrest and South Oakcrest are.
So, well, let me ask you this. I mean, is that as crucial a piece as the circle? I mean, or as the rest of the street? I mean, is that something that could be lived with?
It probably could. Usually if you continue addressing, the way it's addressed now, it's almost like it's all part of Oakcrest Drive. You just kind of dip back into the circle and you continue the addressing along through there. Addressing protocols, you have to have a shallower circle for that. But I mean, we can do that, but
I mean, I was just
again,
trying to get my arms around some way to make sense of this, and it seems like, to me, I'm not a math person, that made more sense.
I can check with the GIS people in the dispatch center and at the county and see if they could rewrite that to have an east-west center line on it for addressing purposes. But for somebody who works with addressing, locating places, they're going to see that as being a separate street. We tried actually just readdressing the circle as part of Oakcrest probably 2 years ago, which is why when you look at this graphic here, they called in, they said, yes, our address is Oakcrest Circle. Well, we had gone ahead and changed in both the city and the county and the emergency dispatch database that street into Oakcrest or South Oakcrest Drive so that the addressing could stay sequential through there and it wouldn't give them any problems in their software. So it wasn't a good fix either way. I can certainly present these questions, though, to the dispatch people.
Other questions?
Yeah, I've got one. One of the citizens wrote in and said that it was kind of unprecedented in their understanding that a street change, at a seemingly arbitrary spot. And it might be well if I've seen several around the city, but if you could kind of identify a few of those places, and like for instance out in my neighborhood, there's at Monroe, it starts out at 900 North, and when it hits Washington, it's 800 North, and there's a sign about partway down where it kind of has a little loop to it, and it says now it's going to be 900 North, and that way it's 800 North. So, the numbers still keep going, but And there's several places like that, but it would be well to,
There's one in my neighborhood that's Mountain and Monroe
Yeah.
that does the same thing.
I think it's just, educating a little bit that we need to show that it does happen other than here.
Okay. And again, too, sorry to keep switching these out for you here. Let me use that one there, too. This illustrates the problem that we're dealing with here a little bit more dramatically, where you have the same address range both here and here on what the computer is considering the same street. Now, you get down here, it's not going to be quite as bad a problem, but you do have duplicate address ranges between that 1639 and 1633. You have it come up to a peak and then start going back down again. And that's just something that the dispatch people and the postal people would like to just kind of keep nice and clean. But again,
What I worry about is it the numbers that are the issue, or is it the length of the street? That whenever you come down to the bottom of the circle, why couldn't that whole thing still be Oakcrest and not say north or south or whatever? Bring it all the way around, then just renumber the houses in such a way. But does that have to do with the,
okay, so making the street like a candy
whole
cane
street,
shop?
Oakcrest.
Or a candy cane shape there?
yeah,
Okay. Again, we're dealing with duplication and ranges that are about a block and a half apart. And that's the biggest reason why we're here tonight, is because
but it's a
whenever-
number issue, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
just the
we could-
numbers on the house, is that correct?
Yes, and so we could renumber all of those houses so that it goes from the low number of, say, 1513 to the high number of 1641, but then you're disrupting all of these houses.
But I'm
right through
saying
here.
you do the whole street. You don't just do the one end that you're looking at and changing a street name in the middle of the block. I can't quite grasp why you would want to change a street name in the middle of a block.
I didn't really want to change it right there. My preference was to change it right where the circle was, and just the shape of the street. It's not really conducive to any good action right there. But we're working with what we have, and we were seeking to inconvenience as few people as possible.
I was just going to make that point, numbering them halfway, even if it's at the circle or wherever we decide that, it's the least intrusive and the least effect on the majority of the neighbors. Another question I have for you is the lower section or the west section. My understanding, when you showed a map, was that's 4550 south, and Aspen Drive would be 4560 south. Am I correct in that?
Yes.
And so if we just name that lower west section 4550 south without a name, and then the upper section would be Aspen Drive to whatever area is determined as the breaking point, and then the other side would be Oakcrest Drive.
That's correct.
And even on the west side, on Oakcrest Drive, it would just continue down to Taylor.
That's correct.
Okay.
Going back to Susie's question, so everything in blue, could you, instead of changing the street name, could you just alter the numbers that are in blue?
Sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. Yeah.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, where are you going to put the big numbers? Where are you going to put the high numbers?
Numbers? Sorry, we've hashed this a lot.
Oh, you're fine.
So your number issue, does it begin with this color right here? Is that where your number issue starts? And it
That's where the
continues?
numbers break and start decreasing again.
Started renumbering from here. I mean, these people are impacted no matter what you do.
But do you
How
number
do
them
you
as
tell?
a higher number?
How do you understand when you're driving up there
That
if someone lives at 15?
Because this one might
80.
end up being 1700, which is not.
Yeah, where are you going to put the
In the
high number?
GIS, I guess, I don't know, the gentleman I talked to today said nobody drives up there except for the people that live there. I don't know, how does that impact emergency?
I don't want the ambulance and the fire department to get
No,
there, though.
I know, so how does that impact their if they're looking at a computer mapping system?
Okay, I actually talked with the previous addressing man about this, and there are certain instances, I haven't identified any. Well, actually, I have in Ogden City. There's something just a little bit southeast of there on Skyline Parkway, which is kind of a J-shaped street. And what they do is they take the low point and the high point of addresses, and then they squeeze everything in between there. So again, this one would go from about, I'd say, 1513 east to 1641, and you would be renumbering.
You would have to
Then you're
renumber
impacting
every one of those,
single house.
every one of those properties, correct?
Yes, and the reason why we'd go to a high point of 1641 instead of 1700 or 1750, again, is we maintain this on a coordinate system. Okay, the east end of Oakcrest there does correspond with about a 1640 east coordinate.
Further questions?
One more.
I know we haven't really resolved this, but in my mind, what I'm thinking is you have, our north-south street, and the numbers go up from it, and some of this talk is that the numbers would just continue, but if you went from a high to or a low to a high, your high number would end up and would cause more confusion to, for
Don't you
that
think-
upper east street.
But it's confusing to me to be driving down Oakcrest Drive and all of a sudden it's Aspen Circle or Aspen whatever. And that to me is what's disturbing, is that the neighbors on that street are used to it being Oakcrest Drive. And maybe the GPS or whatever, we can't make it work, I don't know, but.
Yeah, and again, it's not an ideal situation by any means. When we first started looking at this, we started looking for ways to visually break that street in half. And we had started off with the idea of a traffic choker, which is where you actually pave an island out into the street with curbs and concrete or landscaping or whatever. It narrows or chokes the street down a bit, but those would play havoc with our snow plows.
Yeah.
We had planning suggest, well, why don't you build a short brick wall with maybe the street signs there, a visual indicator there. Brick walls, brick mailboxes get hit by snow plows as well. And it just came down to, we could plant one of those twin street signs where you have one sign saying Oakcrest Drive, Aspen Drive, right in the middle, make it highly visible. But even then, no, it's not an ideal place to break a street. Early on in the process, I was led to believe that the top three streets there on Aspen Drive, or not top three streets, I'm sorry, the top three houses, the 1639, 1640, and 1636 South Oakcrest right now, we're actually going to stay with Oakcrest Drive, which would have been a little easier to break the street at that point.
So I think it'd be important to hear, I guess, from some of the citizens, since we're trying to make decisions for them. And so do we have any other questions for our engineer? Thank you. And we do have a closed session that we're going to try to do right around, shortly after 7. So if you could keep your comments to the point, we'd appreciate it. And we'll now open it up for public hearing to address that for the individuals that actually live on these streets.
My name's George Kobabe, and I live at the corner. I live on Oakcrest Drive, which is also known as South Oakcrest Drive, which is just east of the D Event Center on the corner of Taylor and approximately 4550 South. Do you have any idea where that is? That's the way I've had to describe that now for 40 years. I don't want to take an add to that. I live on Aspen, which used to be South Oakcrest, which was also part of Oakcrest East, and so forth and so on. And so I am speaking very much in favor of your second option, the street between Taylor and Fillmore, which is where I live. I very much would like to have the ability to simply say, I live at 1482 East, 4550 South. Now, I just want to point out a little bit of history in this whole shenanigan that's going on, because this is not a pleasant situation. Nobody is happy about anything that's going on. Every time I get a piece of mail, it, reminds me of how difficult this is, not only for me, but for everybody else. I and my wife were one of the very few, and there are some others here, that were at that first meeting at the elementary school at Shadow Valley Elementary School. My wife and I were the only ones from the area that we live that were at the Planning Commission. There was one other that lived on the Circle. We're here again from that area. We've been going through this the whole time, and the city staff, and at least in the past, I'm not aware of any opposition to this in my particular street, although people may have changed their minds. It's always been numbered 4550. That's always been the preferred name from the city staff, from the residents along that street, and certainly from me. I only speak for myself. I don't speak for anybody else. Please, 4550 south from my section of the street. I'd like to see it all, but if the other people want Aspen, that's there. It's a very different street. That's important to recognize. There are two different streets. It's not just one. So please, name it 4550 south for that area that between Taylor and Fillmore. It would make my addressing simple, and there are a lot of people that look for us up there besides who live there. You know, UPS comes to our house about every other day, and mail from all over the place. So there's one that's in favor of that. Please support us in that.
Thank you, sir.
I live at 1639, one of those three houses that used, and it just seems to me that there's a natural break there where the Circle is off the street, and that several of my neighbors were going to come tonight too, but since I was coming, I guess they just wanted to put it on me. But I would a lot rather have the break come where there is a street coming into Oak Crest. It seems just more logical. And as far as changing our numbers, we're okay with that if they want them changed. I don't think it's a huge problem on my street. There's just one number that's higher than me. That neighbor is Stephen Feeney, and he was willing to come tonight too because he didn't want the streets changed and the signs moved. Right now, we do have a sign on the Circle there, where the Circle starts, and it says Oak Crest Circle. And I understand it may say Aspen Way Circle, and that's not the problem. It's just where the street has to break. But all the people I talked to were okay with changing the number, but just not the name right there.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Diana Wilcoxon, and I actually am a spokesperson. I have another petition, and it is for the 4550 South area, and they would rather have theirs be Aspen Drive also. Like I said last time we met, they're going to have a number on there anyway, so I don't know why they can't have Aspen and 4550. Personally, I would rather not have to change my street address because I have a brick mailbox that has my address on it, and I can't afford to buy a new one. So I'd rather have Aspen Drive. And so here's a petition for the lower part, 4550, that would rather have Aspen Drive also. Thank you.
What's your address?
1539 East, or 1539 South Oak Crest.
Diana, could I see that petition? One of the people there who has never in my whole life seen this petition. I'd be interested in seeing it.
All right, Mr. Chair, that petition needs to go to the recorder.
Recorder, yeah.
And certainly it's okay for him to look at it after, but
So we need
being
to
submitted as official
Diane,
record.
if you could give that to the recorder, please.
Did you say your address was 1539?
So you're not in the lower section, you are in the lower section? You're up above Taylor.
That's not even our map.
I mean Fillmore, sorry, that's what I meant. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Harold Bratland, and I'm the owner of 1545 South Oakcrest, or actually it should be 4550 south. And I'm at the opposite end and have all the problems that Mr. Kobabe had. In my email to the planning engineer, I said, let's stick with the number, at least they can find us. When you publish a named drive, then that's what goes on all the addresses and so forth. And yes, you can describe to someone, okay, look for the sign. Right now, we've got 4535 on them, which makes no sense to me, but that's what the signs say. I've had the same problem of service people and visitors trying to find us. And when you have a street that's discontinuous, like we have here, in reality, 4550 is its own street, and somehow it got the moniker Oakcrest tied to it. And when you have a break like that, people coming in from 4600, they see Oakcrest sign first, and they turn right and go around the circle. And they never get to where you are. So it's been 24, 25 years of misguidance with anybody coming to our house. And even when we say we're on the corner of South Oakcrest and Fillmore, like I said, they'll come in from 4600 and they'll take that first turn and they'll be lost forever. All the service people call me up and I have to ask, okay, where are you sitting? I'm sitting on Oakcrest, but I don't see your number. I say, are you next to the park? Yeah. Okay, come 1 block south on Fillmore. I'm on the corner. And we've been doing that for years. I would love to get something where it can be identified and somebody could actually come to our house, you know, like a fire department. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Janeth Wright, and I'm on the lower section, 1535, South Oakcrest, but the post office designates it at Oakcrest. The whole horseshoe is Oakcrest according to the post office. So that's confusing. I say South Oakcrest, the sign says South Oakcrest, but the post office says Oakcrest. But 1535 South Oakcrest, there is a 1525 Oakcrest. So people are coming to my home thinking, okay, they're over on Oakcrest for 1525, thinking I should be next to it. I'm not. I'm clear over on the other side. So that's the confusion. But I would like to keep it Aspen Drive. I like the name. I like as long as the Aspen Drive has 4550 underneath it so that people can find it when they come to the street sign and saying 4550. So that's what I say. I'm on the lower end, and I like the Aspen Drive. Thank you.
Hi, Travis Pate, 2546 Jefferson. As I looked at the planning aspect of this, I think the numbers are by far the easiest. And as far as you start changing house numbers, my parents have been in our house for over 45 years. We get mail that sometimes actually has the mailman that has written our house number because they just say Travis Pate or Carolyn Pate, Ogden, Utah. And I've actually had them fill it in. So I think my main concern is really coordinating with the post office and what their guidelines for street names and closure are, because working at the Eccles Community Arts Center, the artists give us their artist lists. We write the artist list address or according to those artists. Sometimes the artists hand address those things and it says return to sender appropriate zip code. And it's just one number, slightly inverted by the artists themselves. And so if you're redoing house numbers and streets and everything else, and they're gonna send it back to us for a zip code, when the house numbers and everything else are correct, it's really a frustration. So I think the quantities of mail and the automated aspect of their optical readers and everything else is my main concern. Having had an internship here in Ogden City, we sent out several notices for the Riverfront Redevelopment Project area. One of them, we missed an address. So it said Ogden City, came back with a New York cancellation. Return to sender, insufficient address. So the automated system works when it wants to and doesn't work when it wants to also. So my main concern before actually addressing and talking to this is literally getting our Postmaster General here. I know Hesperus, Colorado has their own postmaster, those types of things, and having them seriously address, here's what we're doing, here's the logistics, and will your optical readers still recognize Oakcrest and South Oakcrest, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, because these poor individuals have been there for 30, 40 years, and their mail needs to still get to them. People still write to my mother after 25 years of the Forest Service and recognize the Jefferson address. If all of a sudden that was changed to a new name street and the post office kicked it back, here's some contact of lifelong friends that are now missing, because there are many individuals, not saying that are technologically deficient, but yes, a handwritten letter, the post office is going to kick back. You say, how long will you carry this change of address notice versus just a 3-month change of address notice? Thank you.
Thank you, Travis. Okay.
I'm Leela Solberg. I live at 1521 South Oakcrest Drive, which is on the lower part between Fillmore and Taylor. And it has been a nightmare for 14 years, but I understand the need to change it for the emergency services. It does say 4530 right across from my house. There's a sign. But because it's such a small area and it is kind of the forest green area, I would like to have it be Aspen. I think Aspen would clarify the confusion between Oakcrest and South Oakcrest. It's got to be changed anyway, so I don't know how to make everyone happy, but I would like to see it be Aspen. Thank you.
Thank you, Leela.
My name is Kim Waters. I live at 1581 South Oakcrest, which is the upper part. And it seems to me, and I don't live on the lower part, so I'm not sure I have the right to suggest what that should be, but it seems to me that really the upper part and the lower part really are two separate streets. And we've lived at our house for 20 years, and there's been a number of times when I've happened to be in my yard and people have stopped and asked me to help them find an address, and sometimes it's been on the lower part and they're lost. In our part, the upper part, because of the similarity of the names, it seems to me it would be clearer in some way to have just separate those two streets, since they're not continuous. And I don't know, that's my opinion. We live in the part, my wife and I live in the part that's going to change regardless. We don't live close to the circle. So I think we prefer that it be a named street in the upper part, just because Oakcrest is also a named part. I mean, I don't know, it seems clearer some way to have two named streets abut each other. But, so thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kim. Further comments? Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to close the public hearing.
I second it.
Hold on, just...
Well, Mr. Chair, I think you need to determine whether or not you want to close the public hearing, depending on what your wishes are for proceeding, whether or not you want a change in the ordinance, which would require some additional time. With that option, you would need to continue probably, and you'd want to continue the public hearing if you do that.
I was going to mention, I think there's a couple of things that I noticed. We have a new petition now to review. We have to coordinate with the Post Office General that was mentioned. And we need to check on the east-west center line, the two homes in the circle, and follow up on where that sign, should be. If it's a natural sign right where the circle is, that's a sign that is, if I was driving up, I would see a sign saying, here's a circle name. And so I think there are several things that we need to probably look at as a council and maybe even discuss in a work session.
We should also look at both, there's two entities here that we need to review, the upper part and the lower part that I think are.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, you do have a motion and a second.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
I noticed a trend that, with one exception, that the men were kind of in favor of the number, and the women were in favor of the name. And, I think you did kind of want, you want everybody happy. You don't want to, make this a war of genders or anything, but perhaps it needs just to be clarified. If I'm going to write Russell, maybe you want to come up and talk about this or answer this question. If I'm going to write a letter to Mr. Kobabe and I write it to his address at 4550 South, even though it's Aspen Circle on the sign, is it going to get to him?
I can't answer that because we've had instances where that has happened and where it hasn't happened, where the postmaster will actually return it and say, this is not your address, please use your correct address. I have not had the opportunity to discuss with this particular postmaster what his policy on that would be. I do know that he has told me that he would automatically give them a year of forwarding in that address to the new addresses in that area there, and even longer if it required it. But that's all the input from the postmaster.
Mr. Pate made an excellent comment that people that you don't have contact with a lot. Maybe they're not going to, they'll talk on the phone a lot, but they won't write to you.
Oh yeah,
for years, and that address might be an issue for a long time.
Can I just, there is a lot of information, and this is going to be a sticky issue one way or the other, because this is people's homes. I mean, you're messing with someone's home and someone's address, and I feel that there is a lot of information that we have yet to discuss in a work session, and I think it would be prudent to maybe have that work session, continue our public hearing so that we can have that gathered. We've gathered a lot of information, and it seems like every time we meet, we get more information, and I just think it would be wise for us to take that information, digest it in a work session, and then, if I'm not mistaken, I believe before we do anything again, it would be best to actually notice that also, so that people actually do know what will happen, and I think that would be wise to take that route also.
I agree with that, and thank you for your patience, because I know a lot of you have been to a lot of meetings.
I don't know if we have a date that we could
Date certain?
postpone that to, but
Yes, I do have a couple of dates for you. If the work session, I think, could occur on December 11th, would be the soonest that you could consider it. You do have a very full schedule with end of year and with holidays. I think the date certain on the continuation of the public hearing, it looks like it would have to be January 15th. It's a long ways out, I know.
Well, at least they'll get their Christmas mail at their same address for a while, maybe.
Will or not.
But I'm just curious if that's enough time for you to contact postmaster and find out exactly what he's going to tell us that needs to be done.
I can speak with him tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think that's
Almost a month
very
if we did
crucial
the
to find
11th.
out what the post office is
there's
working on.
a lot of steps that need to be taken.
We just need a clarification of the process.
So with that, I guess I would make a motion that we table this to the date certain of January 15th, 2013.
I'll second that.
Continue, do we want to continue?
We just want to
We want to
continue,
continue
not
the
table.
public hearing.
Yeah, actually, it would be continuation of the public hearing to that date.
Let me clarify. Make a motion that we can have a continuation to January 15th, 2013.
I would second that.
We have a motion from Councilmember Gochner and a second from Vice Chair Blair to continue the public hearing to January 15th, 2013 as a date specific with some direction to get some of these questions answered for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take a vote? Sorry.
Oh, and we need, this is a voice vote, or?
Yes.
Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. This will move to that date. Thank you, and thank you all for being here and giving us your input. Next is new business, and this is a consideration of the cancellation of the November 20th City Council meeting.
I move that we cancel the November 20th meeting.
Second it.
We have a motion from Councilmember Heyer and a second from Vice Chair Blair to cancel the November 20th meeting. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Next is public comments. This is an opportunity to address the council regarding your concerns or ideas. Please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. In this form of government, all city personnel are the responsibility of the administration, not of the council. Please discuss any concerns you may have regarding staff with the mayor, chief administrative officer, or department directors.
Okay, I'm Stephen Smith at 930 Jackson. I want to thank those that have been trying to help with my situation with the code enforcement. And apparently nothing's working out. So I want to say thank you for putting me in jail over just some little problems. And also I'd like my trolley plan back because I don't think Ogden deserves the work I've done to try to save Ogden, make Ogden better. As I hear all this, oh yeah, that's good this, good that. Yet I've devoted a lot of hard time to do that plan the right way. Because I learned the right way doing tracks in Salt Lake. And what's my reward? Nothing. Just the problems I'm getting. And so that's all I got to say. And if you can get it to me this week, I'd be happy because I'm going to burn the thing when I get it. Because I'm fed up with what I've had to deal with Ogden. I used to support Ogden. I went thick and thin, and then this latest little roust I've had, I can't support Ogden anymore. And if I had the chance, I'd move out tomorrow. But I'm stuck here. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments? Comments from administration?
I'd personally like to thank everybody that participated this weekend in the Veterans Day Parade. I think that was a great coming together of the community, and I know a lot of people put a lot of time and energy into that. So appreciated seeing so many of the council members and spending that cold Saturday morning with all of you as well. So thank you.
Council staff?
Nothing tonight, thanks.
And council members?
I just have one quick thing that I think I've had people ask me the question. As we've come to our council meetings, we've always had one lady that came and sat on the very front row, and her name was Lou Ann Huss, and she passed away 2 weeks ago. And she was a great volunteer for Ogden. She was a swim coach at the Marshall White Center. She played the drums. She was a substitute teacher for Ogden City Schools. And people who do watch television do see who's in the audience, and she will be missed.
I'd also like to mention that I enjoyed the walk on Saturday with the mayor during the Veterans Day. It was very rewarding to me to show respect to those individuals who not only serve now but have served in the past for our freedoms. And I was impressed last night when we had an opportunity to attend the policeman banquet. It really illustrated to me the type of quality of men and women who are in our force, our police force, the professionalism and the dedication that they have. And I appreciated the invitation to that banquet.
And, just again, thank you to Ogden City for their support of the Veterans Day Parade and the other events that day. We had about 2,800 people, I was told, that were in the parade, and probably about 400 people that watched the parade.
Pretty bad
But
weather.
it was a very cold morning, and we want to express our appreciation to the police, fire, public services, and also to all those military veterans that marched beside us. I had the opportunity also to speak on Sunday at a memorial at the mortuary, and it was very touching, and it's an honor to honor these gentlemen and women who serve our country. And we did receive from the 75th Security Forces Squadron a medallion as the defenders of the Hill Air Force Base and the 75th Security Forces, and we'll share this with the city, and thank you. And we appreciate all your efforts. Okay, next on the agenda is a closed executive session. So we have consideration of adjourning into a closed executive session pursuant to the provisions of Section 52-4-205. Mr. Gary.
Chair, a closed executive session is permissible for the purposes set forth on the agenda.
With that, I'll move that we go into a closed executive session.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Heyer and a second from Vice Chair Blair to adjourn into a closed session. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Gochner?
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer?
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens?
Aye.
Councilmember Van Hoosier?
Aye.
Vice Chair Blair?
Aye.
Chair Garner?
Aye. And as a reminder, we will adjourn our city council meeting from that closed session. So we appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you.